You've probably heard a lot about rapid trigger keyboards lately. Every single company is scrambling to get their rapid trigger keyboards out because they're making so much noise in the competitive esports scene. Rapid trigger, of course, is the feature on newer keyboards where your keyboard is able to instantly reset each keystroke the instant you start lifting your finger off the key. I'm not going to get too much into it because I'm sure you've all watched that Optimum Tech video. Basically, each switch has a magnet embedded inside, and then there's a sensor on the keyboard that measures how deep you've pressed that magnet. So essentially, these rapid trigger magnetic keyboards are pressure sensitive. And everyone has the biggest boner for rapid trigger right now. So the question is, why would anyone buy a gaming keyboard nowadays that doesn't have rapid trigger? Because if the tech is really that much better, why would you even consider anything else? So to answer that question, I have two keyboards here. Do you take the blue pill or the red pill? I spent like $60 on these keycaps just to make that joke. I don't even know if what that's referencing. This is the Keychron Q1 Max, and this one is the Keychron Q1 HE. Both of these keyboards are nearly identical, same layout, they both have a knob, both made out of aluminum. The only difference is this one has that magnetic rapid trigger tech, and this one is just a standard mechanical keyboard. I've been playing around with these keyboards for a couple of months now, so I just wanted to share my thoughts on them. I've been planning this video for a while, so I've got some notes over here on my Notion page. I'm pretty noob at using Notion, but there's this Notion masterclass over on Skillshare that I've been taking by Ali Abdaal. It's super nice. I learned how to make like this little Kanban board for like planning my YouTube videos. I didn't know how to make these before, but now I know. In fact, here's the video we're recording right now, and I can tap into that. I got a whole page of notes that I'm using to record the video at the moment. I'm sure you've heard of Skillshare. They're sponsoring today's video. They have thousands of classes ranging from film, design, or just general productivity. And it's been a while since we've worked together on a video, maybe like over a year. They've got a ton of improvements since the last time I talked about them. They have these things called learning paths now. So if you've ever wanted to learn how to edit videos in Resolve, for example, they have a learning path, which basically is an entire collection of classes just for learning that specific thing. They also have an entire category specifically catered towards creators now. So if you've been looking to start a YouTube channel, they have an entire section for that. They literally have a Skillshare class on how to make Skillshare classes. I'm not even kidding. Check out Skillshare in the link down below, and the first 500 of you that use my link will get a 1-month free trial of their premium membership. Okay, so quick 30-second review on these keyboards in particular. They're both from Keychron, and they're both awesome. They're 75% layouts, so they're much more compact than a full-size keyboard. You get a lot more room to move your mouse around, but you still get arrow keys and a function row. They're also super well built, fully aluminum, and if you're into modding keyboards, they're very easy to open up, which I recommend doing because the built-in stabilizers are not very well tuned out of the box. They're pretty rattly. Stabilizers are those wires underneath your long keys like your spacebar and enter key. These come with screw-in stabilizers, which is really good. They're just kind of rattly and loud. Oh yeah, and they're also both fully wireless, even the magnetic one, which is something you don't see very often. And they also have web-based software. So if you're familiar with the Wooting, everyone loves the web-based software because you don't have to install anything on your computer and have it suck up resources that you could be using for like your games or for OBS or whatever. You just plug your keyboard in and then you go to this website and you can change all your settings within your web browser. Now the keycaps you're looking at are not the keycaps that come out of the box. The stock keycaps are comically tall. The HE has red accents and the Max has blue teal accents, and they're even a little bit taller. Externally, these keyboards are basically identical. You cannot tell the difference between these two keyboards just by looking on the outside. Where these two keyboards are different are what's on the inside, just like each and every one of you guys or something. The Q1 Max has traditional MX style switches. It's hot swap, so you can pull the switches out and replace them with whatever you want. You can see on the bottom of these switches that these have 2 contact pins, and whenever you press down on a switch, you're basically just completing a circuit. So with these types of switches, your keyboard can only tell whether or not you've pressed or not pressed the switch. But the Q1 HE has entirely different switches. So as you can see, it doesn't have those contact pins anymore. Instead, there's a magnet. And the PCB of the keyboard has a ton of these sensors underneath each switch. And so the combination of the sensor and the magnet and like cool science stuff that I learned in high school is how it's able to determine how deep you're pressing each switch. This is really important because that means normal mechanical switches are not compatible with those magnetic rapid trigger keyboards and vice versa, because the actual brains of the keyboards are entirely different. So if you're thinking of getting your favorite custom keyboard switches and throwing them in here, it doesn't work like that. So why does any of this matter? I didn't come here for a science lesson, bitch. Just tell me how to get out of silver in Valorant. Let's start with the advantages. Yes, I know you guys have watched the Optimum Tech video already. Let's just go through it all for completeness. With the Q1HE, the software has a separate section where you can adjust the actuation distance of each key. So if you're gaming and you want your key presses to be as responsive as possible, like the moment you breathe in the switches, you want it to actuate. Like you're a pro Osu player and you don't have time to wait around for you to press the switch all the way down. You want it to just actuate when you just like nibble on it and just actuates. Well, you can adjust the sensitivity of each switch to be as high up on the key press as you want, and you can even do that per key. So if you find yourself hitting a key too easily, like the Windows key, for example, you can set the actuation distance just for that one key to be the full travel, so it will only ever actuate when you really push all the way down on the switch. That alone is a massive advantage of these magnetic Hall effect keyboards. It is physically impossible to achieve the same feature on a normal mechanical keyboard because it just doesn't have the depth sensing capabilities of that magnet and sensor combo. It's also really cool for games like Apex. There's a mechanic called super gliding, and basically the trick requires you to press the jump key and the crouch key in a very specific timing that's really hard to nail on a mechanical keyboard. You need to press the crouch key ever so slightly before you hit the spacebar. Very hard to get the timing right. But on a rapid trigger magnetic keyboard, I just set the spacebar to actuate 1 millimeter before my crouch key. So it means that I can pretty much just rest my thumb on both keys at the same time and then press them at the same time. Makes the timing way easier. But the real feature that everyone cares about is rapid trigger. Because magnetic keyboards know exactly how deep you're pressing each switch, they also can measure the exact instant that you start lifting your finger off each switch. So this makes things like jiggle peeking way faster and more responsive because you can pretty much just float your finger on the key and then keep spamming left and right. It's not something you can do on a mechanical keyboard. What you want to know is how much of a difference it really makes, because every single YouTuber and every single pro streamer swears by rapid trigger keyboards, and you want to know if they're just lying to you so they can make affiliate money, or if they're really as good as people say they are. And if I'm being totally honest with you, I don't think rapid trigger is nearly as big of a deal as most YouTubers make it out to be for the majority of people. Don't get me wrong, you can absolutely tell the difference between a rapid trigger keyboard and a standard mechanical keyboard, especially once you dial in your settings. It does feel more responsive. But put it this way, if I had a choice between upgrading my monitor, my mouse, my headphones, or my keyboard, I would 100% upgrade all those other things first before even thinking about upgrading my keyboard. When you upgrade your monitor, you feel the difference in everything you do. Scrolling in your web browser, dragging windows around. With your headphones, you hear the difference in everything you listen to, music, watching YouTube videos, whatever weird furry stuff you're into. And your mouse physically feels more comfortable every single time you touch it. Rapid trigger is a lot more situational and subtle than all those other things. The difference is there, but if you suck at games, I'm sorry to tell you, rapid trigger is not gonna make you better. If you don't do any advanced movement, you're silver ranked in Apex, you probably won't feel a huge difference. I mean, sure, maybe I'm projecting because I suck, but I'm an above average Apex player and I still feel like I can live without rapid trigger. I can't really say the same thing about my monitor, my mouse, or my headphones. It's kind of like, you know when you go to the gym? I know you don't know what that feels like, trust me, I don't go to the gym either, but just roll with it. Just roll with the example, okay? If you eat Pop-Tarts all day, if you sleep 4 hours a night, if you never drink water, you're probably not at a stage where you need to start taking trend. That's how I feel about gaming with rapid trigger keyboards. Okay, but Nutty, these two keyboards are basically the same price. So shouldn't I just go with the one that has rapid trigger? I mean, even if I can't feel the difference, it's better to have rapid trigger than not have it, right? I would agree with you if every single rapid trigger keyboard I've typed on didn't feel like complete ass. Magnetic keyboards are way mushier. They don't feel or sound as nice to type on. Trust me, I've typed on like 10 different magnetic keyboards before and they all feel like this. In the case of the Q1 Max and the Q1 HE, the Q1 Max feels so much better for everyday typing. And that's something that everybody can notice. You don't need to be a pro gamer to feel the difference there. And even if you don't like how the switches feel, there's literally hundreds of different switches you can swap in to dramatically change your typing experience. For rapid trigger keyboards, there's like 5 options and they all suck. Not only that, not every magnetic switch is compatible with every magnetic keyboard. This is something that almost nobody brings up whenever they do reviews of magnetic keyboards. Apparently there's a couple different types of magnetic switches and different companies use different types. For example, these are Gateron magnetic jade switches and I love these. These feel probably the most similar to a normal mechanical switch, but they're magnetic. And I can't even put these into the Q1HE because apparently the Q1HE uses a different type of magnetic switch that isn't compatible with these ones. So even though they're both magnetic, it doesn't mean I can just pop them in. And by the way, if you're into tactile switches, those literally don't even exist for these magnetic rapid trigger keyboards. Look, I know that the Venn diagram between people who care about how a keyboard feels and the people that care about gaming performance is probably exceptionally small, but these keyboards are not cheap. And unless you're a spoiled YouTuber like me that gets sent keyboards all the time and you have like 30 keyboards in your shelf, you probably don't want to have to spend money on 2 keyboards just to get the best of both worlds. Like, it'd be nice to have a keyboard that is both good for gaming and also feels nice to type on. And at the moment, the gap between the two is just too large that you have to make a choice. And we didn't even talk about layouts yet. Almost every single rapid trigger keyboard on the market is tiny. The Wooting is a very small keyboard, doesn't have arrow keys, no function row, because rapid trigger is heavily marketed towards FPS gamers. And FPS gamers want their keyboards to be as small as possible for 2 reasons. 1, so that they have more room to move their mouse, and 2, because it looks cute. Every time I show off these rapid trigger keyboards to people, I always get the same comments. It's too small, where's the number pad? Why the fuck is your hair so long? There's just so few options right now for rapid trigger keyboards that have actual usable layouts for anything other than gaming. This video is not meant to be an anti-rapid trigger rant. I know I'm a loser. I'm not that much of a loser to make propaganda about keyboards. I just don't want people to get FOMO because your favorite YouTuber told you that you need to get a rapid trigger keyboard, otherwise you'll never be good at gaming. And I also want people to realize that you are sacrificing other aspects of your keyboard when you decide to get a rapid trigger keyboard. Don't just buy a $200 keyboard because somebody told you that you need it. Save your money for things that matter, like eating at nice restaurants or buying 3 eggs at the supermarket. But if you watch this whole video up to this point, first of all, wow, that's amazing that you managed to stay awake for the whole thing. Second, if you absolutely need a rapid trigger keyboard today that is the best mix between a traditional mechanical keyboard and a magnetic Hall effect keyboard, the Q1HE is hands down the closest you'll get. It's got incredible build quality, it's super easy to take apart and customize, it's one of the only wireless rapid trigger keyboards that you can get right now, and it has a volume knob. But if you aren't sold on any of the rapid trigger keyboards that are on the market right now, give it a few months. By the end of the year, there's going to be so many more options for rapid trigger keyboards that have much better layouts, probably much better typing feel, and don't cost a minimum of $200. Hopefully by then, we'll start to see the gap between mechanical keyboards and magnetic keyboards start to close. Let me know what you guys think. I get really self-conscious whenever I try to do something new on this channel because you guys only ever want to hear me talk about OBS. I'll leave you guys with some typing noises. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys maybe never ever again. Who knows?